Perfect. So if you're dialing in live, you should have received a notification at the top of your screen just to say that we'll be recording this session. The reason for that is because we know, there's a lot going on for students and young people at the moment. So there's many reasons why people might not be able to join us live, particularly in Scotland where schools are already back. So we wanted to make sure that this is an available resource for schools and colleges after the summer. So yeah, we thought it'd be a good idea to record it and then people can watch it back at their own convenience. So as I say, 5th of our Careers and Conversations series, which we've been running over the summer. So I think most of you are aware, but if anybody's not aware of who we are as Career Ready, so we're a nationwide charity and we aim to connect young people with the world of work through mentoring, internships, masterclasses. As you can imagine, that's been slightly challenging in recent months given the current circumstances. So we recently ran a virtual skills festival which worked really well. So sessions like this, connecting students with somebody who's experienced in the world of work. So we thought we'd continue that over the summer with this Careers and Conversation session. And yeah, this is the 5th one, so delighted to welcome Victoria and Suzi this afternoon. So Victoria is going to be our host for this afternoon. She's going to be asking the questions, and Victoria is one of our Career Ready alumni, so she's been through the programme, so has got experience of that firsthand. So I think that's it from me. There will be an opportunity at the end to ask questions. We haven't had anything through to the mailbox so far, but I'm sure the questions that Victoria asks are going to be of relevance and interest. So Victoria, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria. And like Louise mentioned, I did Career Ready in 2016 at the Petrie Academy. Now I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Cambridge studying geography, and I'm really excited to be sharing this session. So just to ensure that everyone has their camera off and is on mute, so we can hear Suzi's amazing answers as clear as possible. So today we'll be in conversation with Suzi, who has had a very successful army career of 29 years as both a regular and a reservist. She has also been running her own executive coaching business and is currently working as a management consultant for PA Consulting. Hello, Suzi. It's so great to meet you and thank you for your time.
No worries. Hi.
Amazing. And so for the very first question of the Career in Conversation talk today, it's about if you could tell us a bit about your role and the organisation you work for and basically what led you to this position.
Sure. So currently I'm a management consultant for PA Consulting. So what do? Well, I help and support people and organisations solve their problems, perhaps do things better, cheaper, faster, but by bringing ingenuity to life to help create solutions to build that positive human future, particularly in this technology-driven world. I undertake various different assignments or projects, and it's working across all different sorts of sectors, anything from sort of the NHS and health services to financial services. But at the minute, I'm primarily focused on the defence and security sector, and that's because of my military background. PA and consulting in particular was a natural transition for me from the army because it was that problem solving. It was about using my people skills. It was about bringing sometimes organizational structure and processes, but to support and help other people. So I find it a natural fit. My 29 years in the army was absolutely amazing. I was really fortunate to be able to command men and women, over 700 at one point, and I was their boss, their leader. And that was in Afghanistan, hugely challenging, but hugely rewarding. And I did a number of different operational tours, Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia in 2000 and Northern Ireland. And throughout that time, I faced adversity challenges, sexism, discrimination, barriers, and even death. Unfortunately, I'm obviously here to speak about it. So I've been lucky. Maybe I'm a cat with 9 lives. But the whole thing, whilst it was hugely challenging, it was absolutely, ultimately rewarding. And it was lots of fun, lots of teamwork. I have some of the fondest memories and great times from that. And actually, it developed me. It developed me into the person over those 29 years, what and who I am today, what I believe is important, and then what I can do to help other people, I say currently as a management consultant.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If anything, it just shows how people can come from such different backgrounds and then still be able to go into consulting because of the wide transferable skill set you get within the sector. And so my next question is, what was the best and worst piece of career advice you've gotten since you've left school? Yeah, best and worst piece of career advice you've got since you left school.
So I think, yeah, the best bit of career advice was definitely do something you enjoy. Something that really, you know, fires your passion, that enthuses you, that ultimately will get you out of bed in the morning. Because let's be honest, getting up, whether it's winter, you know, bad weather outside, or, you know, you're living in fear of what's going to hit you in the office, is not going to get you out of bed. So you've just got to be passionate and want to do whatever it is you're doing. So I think that was definitely the best bit of careers advice. And I've had that sort of reinforced throughout my career, is always keep doing it if you're enjoying it, if it's something that keeps you going and, I say, gets you out of bed in the morning, if it's something that that meets with your values and your own culture and your own thoughts and feelings. And the worst bit of advice was probably do something a little bit more feminine. Yeah, you know, and I know that was probably a long time ago when I left school, but a couple of times people have said, you know, would you not be better in a more female type role, whether that's, you know, secretary or a nurse, and that's stereotypes that people have had and assumptions that people have made, rather than, you know, facing firstly a dangerous job, but a challenging job, and one which had definitely over the many years has faced all sorts of discrimination and barriers and challenges. But if you put a challenge in front of me, you know, I'll knock it down, I'll run through it, I'll find a way under it, or I'll get my way around it. You know, I am a person who enjoys those challenges.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. And on that note, have you always known what you wanted to do growing up? And yeah,
I am one of those individuals who, from a very young age, and you can actually find photographic proof of me as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, dressing up as a soldier. I had 2 older brothers, and maybe it was, you know, fight or flight, a little bit of, you know, robust brotherhood, kind of, I don't want to use the word bullying, but there was that sort of, you know, boisterousness of having to defend myself and always being outdoors, always wanting to be. You know, they described me, my brothers, sometimes as the bossy boots, but I've heard a really good quote from Sheryl Sandberg, which is, you know, every little girl who is told she is bossy instead should be told that she has leadership skills. And I truly believe that as well. So yeah, I did. Right from the age of 2, I always knew I wanted to join the army. Then as I kind of, you know, got a little bit older and went through school, I decided that I wanted to join as an officer. And then the particular aspect I wanted to do was either medicine or engineering at the time. And it was the engineering pathway that eventually sort of led me into the army.
Great, thank you very much. I think the next question is really, really interesting because it's about first-time jobs. But I got my very first job when I was 16, and that was through the Jack Petrie Foundation, so the school I went to. So how did you get your very first job?
I'm not sure if you can include myself working in a supermarket thing, but in terms of my first job with the army, so I actually, I was really fortunate to have what's known as a school scholarship. So I had that whenever I was 16. And very similar to the military sort of selection process is you go through it at quite a young age, where they look at your school academic record, any extracurricular activities you do. You get reports from, you know, for me, I was a Girl Guide. I did a Duke of Edinburgh award. I did school plays. I played a musical instrument. So all of that provided evidence for the selection process. And what it meant is that my parents were given a bit of financial support for my 6th form. I'm fortunate because I went to school in Northern Ireland, and I went to a grammar school. My parents didn't have to pay any financial aspect. So actually, for me, that financial aspect led me to going skiing and doing adventurous training. And again, building that sort of resilience and determination and those additional skills. I then, after I finished school, I got sponsored through university, which again was really fortunate. I think it still exists, but that meant that I was getting paid as a junior officer through my 3 years of mechanical engineering. And when I went for my selection, and I got my scholarship, I was told, I have some good news and some bad news for you. The good news is that you have got this cadetship, what it's called, so which means you're going to get a financial benefit whilst at university, which is great. The bad news is you're going to be on a military course for 3 weeks, and you're the only female with 37 men. Now, bearing in mind, I was 18 years old at the time, and I'd just been to an all-girls school. I failed to see how that was bad news, but obviously somebody else did. But that course was absolutely fantastic, and I was really fortunate that actually the majority of men were really supportive and really helpful, and that sort of built that foundation as I went off to university. And in parallel with that, I actually joined the reservists. So I got paid by the army to have a kind of hobby on the sideline, but it was absolutely doing everything that I wanted to do. So I learned those basic military skills.
Yeah, I think determination, resilience are all really, really important skills for young people to develop, and also adults to continue having and developing as they, as we continue to go through life. I think especially COVID has showed us the importance of resilience and determination. And so I guess this goes into my next question. What kind of barriers or challenges have you faced in your career or personal life?
Yeah, so when I initially did try and join the army at 16, I unfortunately failed a medical because as a young child, I had asthma. And that almost, mentally and emotionally destroyed me, being told that actually, you've passed everything except for the medical. And unfortunately, you will never be able to face some of the physical challenges that you will have to undertake either during training or whilst in the army. So thank you very much, but find yourself another career. I was really fortunate that I challenged that. And I saw medical specialists who said I didn't have asthma, that said I was a fairly fit female of my age. I did a lot of sport, and I was fortunate to be retested. And I'm glad that I was retested, and I had that support from my family to be able to sort of push me and gain that retest, because it just shows, having completed 29 years commanding, one of the very few females who have ever commanded on operations, especially over 700 men and women, and being one of the fittest of that 700, not just the fittest females, but actually I challenge, and I'm as physically fit in most aspects as any man, and I've completed an Ironman, which is a pretty big physical feat. Actually, people can be wrong, and sometimes you have got to challenge it. You've got to, as you said, be really determined. I'm described often as bloody minded and stubborn. I prefer to call it gutsy and determined. So it's just really important to do that. And then really throughout my army career, bearing in mind it was so many years ago, the number of barriers and challenges were very much on what restrictions were based on the fact that I was a female. There were so many jobs that I couldn't do because I was a female. There were other jobs that I was almost, made to do because I was a female. And again, I challenged that at times. Unfortunately, things have completely changed, not just within the army or the military, but across society. And actually within the military, men and women can undertake any role that they choose. There are no barriers, except for sort of the physical aspects or the mental or emotional aspects. So if you can meet that criteria, you can do the job. So I think that's fantastic, and it just shows how much progress society and the military within that, and many other different organizations have made.
Yeah, exactly. And so then when you were 18, did you expect to be doing the job you're currently doing now?
Do you know, I don't really think I thought about it at 18. I think I probably just thought I want to get into this because I absolutely love it, and I want to be doing it for as long as I'm enjoying it. But I'm not so sure that I ever thought anything beyond maybe 25 or 30. I certainly never saw myself as being sensible. I never saw myself as being grown up, or even as being, you know, married or a parent. And I'm kind of most of those things now. So I probably didn't anticipate it. But equally, I don't think I ever considered doing anything else. I think because this is all I ever wanted to do, I was quite sort of narrow in my focus.
Yeah, I always find it quite interesting speaking to people about their journeys and the different careers they're doing. And a lot of them mention how, you know, some of them might have wanted to be like a fashion designer, but now they're working in investment banking, or some of them wanted to, you know, go into like medicine, but now they're in commercial law. So I think if anything, any advice I could to like any young person is like, don't worry if your like mind changes. Just always like follow your heart, follow what you're good at, follow your passions, and basically follow where you can actually give value and provide value in this world. And so then on that note, I guess reflecting on your career, which piece of careers advice do you wish you really had been given at the age of 17?
Yeah, I think it was exactly as you said. Don't be so fixed. Whilst you may be thinking about that next sort of formal qualification, whether that's GCSEs, A levels, maybe you know, doing an apprenticeship or going to university or getting some life experience. Don't worry about what that might lead to or might narrow down, because actually, you know, the world is your oyster. And as you said, you can take a stepping stone, and it might, you know, every experience is good because it gives you something, even if that's negative. Everything teaches you something. You know, I'm sure that those of you who are at school probably hit the phrase every day is a school day. Well, I'm just shy of probably about 50, and I still think that every day is a school day, because I'm learning things about myself, about society, about different skills and experiences. So I think it would be, as you say, just don't close your mind to anything. Try and keep it as open, as wide as possible, because that's really important.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you mentioned about being quite optimistic and always being positive. And every situation, a positive or negative situation, can actually allow you to learn a lot. And in fact, sometimes the negative situations allow you to learn more than the like more positive situations. As I guess on that note, how did you go about dealing with any setbacks you had in life, or like within your career as well?
Yeah, so you've actually just hit on one of the things, which is, you know, failure, or you know, you learn more from failure than you do from success. I have had lots of setbacks, and I've been really fortunate that I've got a hugely supportive family, you know, parents and brothers when I was younger. Now my own two boys who are actually 17 and 13, and my husband and my friends. Without all of them, you know, I think things would have been really difficult. But I also, one of the things, you know, my role model, my hugest role model, who I absolutely idolize, is actually my father, and everything that he did. He was a leader. Everything that he did to support other people, and how he treated and respected people, and listened to people. And one of the things that he taught me after failing this medical was, you know, never stop trying, never give up. And I took that word, when you're told, and if you think of the word as not, N-O-T, when you're told you're not good enough, it's not possible because you're a woman, you're just not able, it's just not appropriate. That's a really negative thing if that's what you're told quite often. So I like to use acronyms where you turn it into something else. And I use that word not as the N is never, the O is inside the word stop, and the T is trying. So when you're told you're not good enough, it's not possible, you're not able, think of, you're telling me not. What I'm thinking is, never stop trying, keep going, have a go, or you will never know. That whole fortune favors the bold. And actually, you know, failure, the word FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. It might even stand for fifth attempt in learning, but it's not a bad thing, because you can, as you said, learn so much from it. So I use my family, I use different quotes, I use songs. I've got a video that if we have time at the end, I can share with you, which is just something Billy Basic that I made up myself. But those are my leadership model, and reflection really helped me to get over those setbacks and know that, yeah, it's upsetting at the time, but gosh, this is a learning experience. What can I get from it? And it's trying to encourage, so now I, particularly as an executive coach, trying to encourage others to think about, you know, okay, something happened, but what can you learn from that to take forward into the future, look to the future?
I really, really agree. I think one thing I was going to add on to that was the importance of having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset.
You got to my next one.
Oh gosh. Who would have thought it? I think one really nice quote that I really like by the motivational speaker Les Brown is, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you fall down, but if you do fall down, make sure you fall on your back so you can look up and get up and then continue, which I think is really, really like inspiring. And it does, like, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you fail. In fact, I don't really call it failure. I call it feedback, because you know, I think it's a lot more like a positive way of like viewing like a situation. But either way, just keep persevering, like keep going. And then on to that next, the next question is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your teenage self?
Yeah, this is probably the advice I also give my kids, but it is try absolutely everything. You know, when you get asked or people ask for volunteers for whether it's to do charity work or to join a team or to, you know, stand up in front of class and do a presentation, take every opportunity, you know, grab it with both hands, because as you said, you're going to learn something from it. It may not always be comfortable, but stretch yourself outside of that comfort zone, because you will learn so much from it. So it would definitely be, say, learn from everything, try everything, volunteer for everything, and just have a go. And don't worry about kind of what the outcome is, because it will all be that part of that rich tapestry of learning experience.
Yes, definitely. Because I know you mentioned a lot about resilience, determination, never giving up, always having that winner's mindset. So I guess the next question is, for you, what are your most important personal qualities and any qualifications you've gained over the past few years?
Yeah, so I think, you know, qualifications, you know, inevitably, if they're on paper, do get you through the door often for that initial interview. But there's so much more to just getting formal qualifications, and actually, you know, emotional intelligence is one of the biggest things, I think, out there, which is so important. It's also about, you know, as you said, showing perseverance, hard work and resilience. So I think those things are much more important than perhaps just the straight qualifications. And, you know, and I'm kind of, you know, linking into the next bit, but it's about being curious, about being inquisitive, understanding people. Where do people come from? You know, what has shaped and developed them into who they are today? What are their strengths? Okay, everyone's going to have weaknesses or things which are less strong. How can you build and develop those whilst actually, you know, completely using their strengths and being able to further those? So for me, I say the hard work, the perseverance, ability will get you so far, and qualifications will often get you in through the door. But it's much more important to have those wider emotional intelligence. Know yourself. Know what your own personality is like, knowing the kind of things that you're strong at, perhaps the kind of things that maybe upset you. And that's not a bad thing. That's, you know, sometimes wearing your heart on the sleeve is not bad. Being able to show empathy and compassion and being able to listen is really important. And those things, which very much led me into the executive coaching side of things, I found really powerful. And people who've gone through some of those programs with me have come back afterwards and said, you know, it was just you allowing me the time and space to think through a problem and to come up with my own solution, you know, has led from this to this and this. So I would commend anybody to do any type of coaching, understanding and qualification, and really build their self-awareness and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm very obsessed with emotional intelligence. I think, especially reflecting on like my own background, I think often when people do go through different challenges in life, it can, you know, kind of like get you down. But I think I always learn about what I can actually learn from it, and how it's actually made me a lot more tenacious, a lot more have a lot more like perseverance. Yeah. And so I guess like the next question then is, what are the top 3 skills that young people will need to be successful in their future careers?
So I think we've kind of already sort of hit some of them. Certainly EQ would be up there surrounding a number of things, but I would say communications. And communications for me is not just about, you know, being able to write something eloquently. You know, that's always an aspect, but it's being able to speak, and it's also being able to listen. Those are so important. And again, having gone through sort of the coaching program, is people communicate in different ways. So some people, you know, do like to listen audio. Some people like to visually see things. Others like to, you know, do kinesthetic. So they maybe don't listen, or they don't like to read books, but they like to get hands-on and do stuff. So it's really important that when you think about communication, it's not just about providing somebody with the written word. And this is particularly important for those who think differently and learn differently. So, for example, my son is dyslexic. So actually presenting him with a large number of words is not particularly, you know, conducive to the way that he understands and thinks things. But he's really good at YouTube, as I'm sure, you know, many of you are. And it's a great learning resource. So that's, you know, really important. I would say the second thing, which is so important, is teamwork. So for me, again, the acronym TEAM, TEAM, if you think about it, is together, everyone achieves more. Yeah, I can't underestimate that, or, you know, undersell that, because that whole collaboration with other people, using each other's skills, and developing each other, getting over the bad times together, celebrating the good times together, celebrating diversity, inclusivity, that prevents risks being taken. It prevents group thing. So that whole teamwork and being properly inclusive and diverse, for me, is absolutely key. And then the third one, I would say, which, you know, you've already mentioned, is the growth mindset. Think about, you know, learning, think about different ways of doing things, open your mind to new ways. You know, there isn't necessarily a right and a wrong way. Just because I'm older doesn't mean that I'm going to have a better solution than somebody who's 20 years younger. It just means that I have different experiences. And actually, it probably means that I will close some of the solutions because I'll think they won't work. But actually, if you have, you know, an open mind, which hasn't been constrained by my many years of rules and regulations, that's much better. So again, it's be curious. I say many people describe me as nosy. I prefer to think of it as curious and inquisitive, because that's so important about that whole growth mindset, and just wanting to have a go and accept that sometimes you will get it wrong. You've got to pick yourself up and just get on with it and move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's like two analogies that I've always been told about, like, you know, working in a team. Is the whole saying about, you know, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go within a team. And then also the whole idea about, you know, football. Each footballer specializes in their own position. So basically, like, you know, they rely on a team to score the goals, to win the championships, but they all have their own role. And so then this leads on quite nicely to the next question. It's about, you know, how have you dealt with any setbacks whilst working within a team? And if so, how have you dealt with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are times that, you know, sometimes you get that group blame. So when something happens, you know, people think, oh, you know, you're all at fault. And then as a team, you know, you can kind of do that witch hunt. Oh, who's to blame? What is it they did wrong? And you can spend so much time and emotion and energy trying to work out who it was, rather than actually accepting things have happened, mistakes have been made, and maybe a failure has happened. But that is, again, a learning experience. So rather than waste that time, energy and focus and emotion on what went wrong, what can we learn from it? What can we do better? What can we take forward? What can we change or develop? And that's, again, that's that forward looking rather than that rearward looking, and that blame culture, because I think that's really unhelpful. You know, I know that that's sometimes human nature, but actually, as I say, in any of the organizations or assignments that I've worked in, it's much better to think about what can we learn from this experience, rather than who's to blame and what did they do wrong and why.
Yes, definitely. I completely agree. And so I know you mentioned a lot about the importance of personal accountability. So on that note, have you made any mistakes within your educational career? And if so, how have you gone about learning from this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be very naive if I said I hadn't made any mistakes. Some of them smaller, and some of them fairly big. So when I initially finished my university, my engineering, so mechanical engineering, I joined a particular aspect of the army that was engineering. Focus. So it was the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. And at the time, that again was a natural fit because of my qualifications. And I accepted that, and joining them, there were a number of restrictions and barriers to the employment that I could undertake. So at the time, I wasn't allowed to be deployed under armour or sort of with the artillery. But I still joined them because it was almost easy. It wasn't a challenge because of my degree. And actually downstream, I realized that it was too frustrating, that I wanted to have that ability to be able to command and to be able to undertake any role. So in the end, I did challenge it, and it was still probably too soon for it to be accepted. So I ended up moving to a different branch of the army, to the Royal Logistic Corps. And actually, it was absolutely the best decision to make, because there were no barriers. I competed on my ability and my experience, and rather than you're a woman, that you can't do. So I think it's been very open, it's been very fair and equal in terms of its competitiveness, and the roles that have always been open in the logistics. So yeah, the same, made a mistake, but you know what? I learned a lot from it. I learned to challenge, and actually, it led me to something different, which is still really good and really interesting.
Yeah. So these are the final two questions you've got for you. It's gone quite quickly. I'm really enjoying it. So the first one is, what has been your rationale behind each of your career moves?
Well, I guess that sort of the main one would have been really leaving the army and moving into PA. A number of things. The job I was doing was made into two people's job, so of the same rank. So it was quite a large role, and it was quite physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting. And I was probably quite tired. I say I've got two young kids, and I deployed to Iraq when one was just 7 months old and the other was 4 years old. And then again, a few years later, I deployed to Afghanistan when they were a few years old. And so I had, pushed every barrier. I had challenged a lot, but I was quite, say, physically and mentally tired. And I felt that probably, doing the job, which has now been made into two roles, was probably a little bit, pushed too far. But actually, I felt that I'd done everything that I absolutely wanted to, and more that I ever felt that I could achieve. And I wanted to keep doing something a little bit different. And I didn't necessarily feel at the time that opportunity was perhaps within the army, because I had seen a number of colleagues leave and continue careers in civilian sectors, in private as well as public sector. And I guess it was that, that growth mindset of, I want to try something else. I want to learn something else. I want to continue supporting and giving back to other people, but I'm going to find a different avenue for that. The army in particular is a complete lifestyle. It's not just, a career. It is almost everything. So I think it was probably just a little bit of time out, but actually the retraining in terms of the executive coaching and then leading me into the consulting has been hugely rewarding, and I really do enjoy it. And actually, because I'm still doing defence and security assignments or projects, I am still working closely with military people. And my husband's still in the military, so I can't get away from it.
Yeah. And so then this is the very final question for today, and perhaps also my favourite. So what does it mean to be career ready at 18? And when you were 18, were you career ready?
I would say at 18, I was career ready, but then that's probably because, you recognise from now, I had that in my mind from such a young age, what I wanted to do. And I knocked everything out of the way to get there, whether that was the medical or whether that was getting my school qualifications and get my fitness up to standards. So I was also, say, bloody minded, determined, resilient, and I loved the outdoor life. But I think, I think to be career ready, you've definitely got to build different skills, develop yourself, build a network. All those people that you meet, whether that's doing a job now, whether that's your teachers, whether that's, your school friends, your colleagues that you meet at social clubs, they're all your network. And it's really important to continue as well as you can developing that, because somewhere downstream, they may be able to help you, or you may be able to help or support them. Definitely to have a growth mindset and to be curious and to ask lots of questions, to understand and ask other people. They might be 25 years old in their first, second or third job. Ask them what's good about it, perhaps what's not good about it. What gets them out of bed? Do they ultimately get out of bed in the morning and go, I love it, this is the job, I really enjoy doing. And I think it's really, following that passion. Think about what skills or what passion do you have? What things do you enjoy doing? Is it communicating? Is it helping people? Is it working as an individual? Because some people do like to work as an individual. Is it working as part of a team? Is it leading people? Is it being part of a really big organization, or is it part of being a smaller organization? And just understand that everything is a stepping stone. Life is one massive journey. It's, if you know Miley Cyrus's song, it's all about the climb. And, things will take you there. Things will knock you back a few steps. But as you said, you pick yourself up and you take yourself forward even more steps. And actually, you really can achieve. Just keep believing in yourself. Embrace the challenges. Laugh all the time, even in adversity, because laughter is so powerful. And smile. You've just done it, Victoria. It's absolutely, honestly, for me, smiling at people and with people builds a sense of trust, a sense of teamwork. And it goes back to using your experiences as resilience, overcoming obstacles. Things will set you back. Use your team. And I use lots of phrases. So, today's accomplishments were yesterday's impossibilities. The greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it. You always have two choices: your commitment versus your fear. And the difference between dreams and reality is called action. So I think probably that's it from me. Say, I have a video, but I'm conscious time-wise you may not have the or wish to see it, but it's entirely up to you. I can share a screen and a small video.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Suzi. It's been great hearing about you and your career path. And I'll hand it over to Louise.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much, ladies. It's been fantastic. I don't know if you noticed, we had a question come through earlier in the chat from Columbus. So the question for Suzi was, what is a unique skill that you were able to develop or enhance whilst in the army? One that someone who, say, went into banking or a different career wouldn't develop?
I mean, I suppose a lot of what we do is just rapid decision making. I would imagine that you probably do. I mean, I don't know enough about finance, I suppose the financial sector, but certainly in the army, we have a number of different sort of tools and techniques that you build and you develop, and along that with the sort of the skills. And it is very much about, maybe not having all the information at any one time, and therefore you've got to make a plan and make a decision, and then being ready to adapt it and change it rapidly. And that sometimes can be, in life and death situations, because that's often what you're faced with. So I think that's probably is the ability to take information and analyze it, try and find out more information, and then being able to translate that into some sort of workable plan, and then use those people, team and skills and strengths around you to follow through with it. Hopefully that answers that question.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, I can see Columbus has responded to say very interesting. So obviously answered the question. Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of minutes left, so we'd love to see your video. We'll see if it works. If not, we can share it in the link in the chat. So yeah.
Okay, here goes. So I think I share screen first, and then tell me if it works.
We can't see your screen yet, Suzi.
Oh. Can you see the screen yet?
No.
No. I'm not sure. Can you see
Yvonne,
it?
No, nothing as yet. Yvonne, I don't know if you have an option on your control panel to change the presenter to Suzi. That might work.
I don't, but Suzi, you know the thing is when you're sharing anything, if it's on your desktop, you should go to the browse when you do share. If you go to share screen, and you will have an option to browse, and then from there you will be able to select the item that you wish to share.
Let's so you still can't see my screen? No.
No, unfortunately.
Close share. And then oh, I'm afraid I may have failed you with technology. I did send it to Yvonne earlier. I'm not sure if she's able to share from her end.
You know, which one, Suzi? Is it number one? Or...
I would do the first one, which is from dream to reality.
Okay, we'll give it a try.
If you just hold on a moment, and I'll see if I can do it. You know, I've done a copy, but it won't let me open it. Just hang on, I'll just give it another try. I'm sorry about this. Okay. It isn't actually showing it.
No.
Nothing's on my desktop. You know, although it is actually on my desktop, I can see it.
Okay.
I'm happy for you to share both videos anyway. They're
Right.
My son's helped me produce them on iMovies. I am not particularly IT girl, but there's loads of really sort of helpful little quotes and little phrases in there, which somebody might just think, wow, that's powerful. That'll help me. They're all the kind of thing which has helped me develop, help me overcome those challenges, those setbacks, those knockdowns and everything else, and made me into what I am today. And it's helped me.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you ever so much. We'll definitely enjoy
I'm sorry about that. I'm
That's
really
okay.
sorry.
No worries. We're Yeah, we're all learning with the technology, aren't we? But no, it's been fantastic to listen to your stories, Suzi, and thank you, Victoria, for being a fantastic host. Thank you everybody for dialing in and listening, and we'll share those videos with you so that you can have a look at your own leisure. Definitely picked up a few good quotes and ideas and things, Suzi, so thank you ever so much for sharing those and speaking so honestly. We've got no more questions in the chat other than some thank yous and some looking forward to watching the videos. So I think we'll leave it there for today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoons.
Victoria.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak, actually. I just wish that my own son wished to listen to it quite so much.
Yeah. And then also one last thing. So with the next Careers in Conversation session, that's on Wednesday, 26th of August, and that'll be at 2 p.m. And that will be with Steve Granite, the Chief Executive at Abbey Logistics. And you can find out more information on the Eventbrite Career Ready page. So definitely come and join.
Good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzi.
Thanks,
Inspiring.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.